After an 0-4 start to the 2024 season, things were in peril for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. But then they rattled off a pair of wins, and hope was there. Hope abounds. And now, following a awful loss to the Saskatchewan Roughriders and sitting at 2-5, 1/3 of the way through the CFL season, big questions about what is even possible for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this season. Welcome inside Game Day Winnipeg, your pregame show here on Bonfire Sports. Hope you're all doing well. Welcome to the show. My name is Darrin Bauming. You didn't come here to see me. You came here to see this man, the legend, Chris Walby, joining us as he always does. Chris, so much to get to on the program. Bighill's fine for driving Shea Patterson into the turf. Injuries, we continue to see more and more added to the Blue Bombers list. Kyrie Wilson, the latest to join the 6-game injured list. The latest on Rasheed Bailey and Lucky Whitehead. Whitehead not in the lineup. We'll get through the entire Blue Bombers roster. We'll take a look at the Argos. And I think the biggest thing we need to talk about, Chris, I would love your opinion on this. Where is Zach Collaros right now in his level of play, the offense, and it being, I'll just say, the Achilles heel for the Blue Bombers right now?
Yeah, it's just interesting when you look at him, and you know what Zach can do. You know he's a MOP. He's that kind of guy. He's hate to use that term, but he's the straw that stirs that offense to drink. But again, he's making some weird decisions, and most of the time I'll stick up for the young man because I know he's been in the league a lot of times. He's got a tremendous record with the CFL and Bombers in particular. Mm-hmm. But, I know he's hard on himself. He threw a key interception. He threw a beautiful ball to Dembski, though, against Saskatchewan. And, Dembski, unlike Nick Dembski, let the ball kind of hang in his arm, got knocked down by Jameer Thurman, basically take points off the board. And that's what they're just killing themselves offensively. And you know what the funny thing is? They don't stay on the football field, DB. And you have to stay on the field. They get points. They'll generate more things than field goals. But you look at the Bombers right now, they were number 1 or number 2 for the last 3-4 years in time of possession. They owned the football. They kept the other team off the field. This year, they're number 9. They're not on the field enough. They're putting a lot of pressure on the defense to stay on the field and keep in these football games. They're not out of by any means at 2-5, but it was a crushing loss in Saskatchewan. And, I expected better. I mean, it just didn't seem like they were in sync at all. And they got to figure it out quick because you don't want to start going 2-6. You got Toronto. Then next week you got BC. It don't get any easier, brother. So, yeah, I've got to wonder. I think Zach can snap out of it. But it's like we talked about this Ontario Pokey Wilson. What a game, 13. And I said, is he a one-game wonder? I said the last show. 2 catches last game. That's it.
But Chris, somebody's got to get him the ball. Who out there was even able to do anything? As soon as Nick Dembski makes a huge catch to kind of break the offense open and make it look like Winnipeg had an opportunity, he fumbles. Nothing is going the way the Winnipeg Blue Bombers need right now, and it's hurting them. Is it the O-line? Is it the receivers? Is it lack of continuity with those receivers? And Zach Collaros. Is this on Zach Collaros himself? There's a lot of questions out there, and you say you expect them to play better than they did last week. There's a lot of Bombers fans out there watching right now, and great to see everybody in the live chat. Lots of fans out there right now that are not as hopeful as you.
Well, I disagree and I know that it's easy to jump off the bandwagon. There is definitely, the chemistry is not there, and I'll say that for sure. It's not there. But it seems like they're all taking turns to break down, whether it be Zach, whether it be a receiver, dropping a ball, not securing the football, a.k.a. Nick Dembski. Little things that, defeat that any kind of momentum you're trying to build offensively. And that's what we're talking right now, the offense. So they need to straighten that out. It just comes down to take care of yourself, take care of your job, one play at a time. And remember this, there is no I in team. So, together, everyone achieves more. There you go for an acronym. So, that's the biggest thing. So, I think they can work their way out of it. But again, we talked about the thing last week. You loved Kyrie Wilson. Now he's out. He was just one of these guys. I've never seen the Bombers hit with so many injuries and key injuries. And they've got to put guys in. Now we're going to see Tony Jones. Tony Jones will play that spot now where Kyrie Wilson was. And then people are dogging on Adam Bighill now. First time I've heard of him. Adam is like one of the best players. He's a future first ballot Hall of Famer. And, I watched last week, and that one, I think it was, he has the same name in the front and back. Was the big, tall receiver, 7th round draft.
Joe.
He just ran through to tackle the Bighill. I like that kid. I cannot believe that he lasted to the 7th round, but there might be other reasons we won't get into.
There were other reasons. There were 3 teams that said they never considered drafting him. They didn't want him. Yeah. But you're right. There are a lot of people criticizing Adam Bighill right now, and there were people criticizing his level of play last season. But seeing Kyrie Wilson move to the 6-game injured list is just the latest hit to areas of this Blue Bombers team where they continue to just be really injured. I thought the debut of Taiwan Garbutt at defensive end helped Winnipeg last week. I liked his energy. I liked his get off the line and getting to the quarterback. Nice bull rush. Has some nice moves as well. Willie Jefferson cannot carry the load all by himself, but he has had to as of late. And as I scroll down here to the Blue Bombers injured list, adding to it, look, okay, let's add to it, shall we? There's Kyrie Wilson on the 6th game. Mike O'Shea, who we will hear from in just a second. I want to play his interview from Walkthrough in Toronto in just a second. We'll have that here on GameDay Winnipeg momentarily. But defensively, Lucky Ogbevan, defensive end, played 1 game, injured. Cameron Lawson, hurt, began his 2nd stint on the 6-game injured list, so don't expect him back anytime soon. Jamal Parker, I think he's out for the season, not sure, but he started his 2nd stint on the 6th game. Kenny Lawler has begun his 2nd stint on the 6th game. Mike O'Shea has said that he expects him to come back probably for that BC Lions game on August 18th. That's CFL Week 11, so that's in about a month's time. Celestin Haba, who was a starter, injured on the 6-game injured list, and it's looking like he's going to be there for a while. Starting defensive tackle, Miles Fox. This is just the defense. Brian Cole.
Yeah.
Starting linebacker. This is just the defense. Okay. Offensively, we know Keurig Wheatfall, 111 yards in his CFL debut in week 2 when he stepped in for Kenny Lawler, injured on the 6th game. Dalton Schoen out for the season. Huge hit, maybe the biggest hit the Bombers have in their injured situation. We mentioned Kenny Lawler, Bailey Feltmate, the Canadian fullback, injured. Michael Chris Ike, the Canadian fullback, 2024 draft pick, injured. Jake Kelly, he's on the defensive back, Canadian, injured. I know we talked about this like a month ago, maybe even 6 weeks ago, Chris. Injuries are not an excuse. They'll never be an excuse. But
everybody goes
the way Collaros is playing right now, how injured they are, how deep they are into the depth chart, nothing is going the Blue Bombers' way this season. This is a season from hell.
Yeah, you know what? And that might be the best way to describe it right now, especially when you're used to the Bombers reversing it. Right now, they'd probably be, 5-2. For them to be 2-5 at this point in the season is disappointing, I'm sure, to themselves as much as to the fans. And like I said, it doesn't get easier. Going into Toronto, who's basically blew up their own game in a loss, allowing Hamilton to get their first victory.
They're like this.
You watch the game, which I watched that game, and I couldn't believe it.
Argos are a roller coaster.
Well, they got a little bit of quarterback controversy, which we'll get into about, obviously with Cam Dukes or Nick Arbuckle. But if you watch that game, they had a block punt resulting in a touchdown. They had a fumble on a 3rd down gamble, run it back for a touchdown. They allowed, basically Hamilton to get in that game and stay in that game, and they lost the turnover battle, and that's always the big key. We talk about every show, turnovers. They lost the turnover battle 3-1 to Hamilton. Good for Hamilton. They needed some life out east, but I expect the Toronto Argonauts are going to be a different animal tomorrow. They've made a number of changes as well on their defense.
Yeah,
obviously with Pierce moving to one side, they brought in McFadden at the corner now. Injuries hit every team. And I agree with you 100%. They are not an excuse. They are a reality. And you can't do nothing about it. I mean, now you talked about and you just kind of tipped your hat at it, and I'll just bite at the bait right now and get it
Mm-hmm.
out there. The fact that they cut Rasheed Bailey today because they like this young kid Polk. They think this Mackay Polk will be a real younger guy. I don't believe it's about salary at all because he was not making a ton of cash.
No.
But I love the fact that the Bombers have reached out already to him. It'd be great. He'd be a great addition to this team. We need to get him back here. Great inspirational player. That'd be just a storybook for me if he comes back here because I think he's one of the pieces that could really pick up this offense.
Chris, do you think an addition like Rasheed Bailey could just give the team a little bit of belief, a little bit of juice? Because we know he's a high energy guy. They don't call him Showtime Sheed for nothing. He has energy on the field. He has energy in the locker room. He's energy when he's, crossing the street and going over to his friend Nick Dembski's house. He used to live across the street from him, knocking on his door at 6 a.m. Hey, Nick, let's go. The guy is pure energy. Maybe that's the shot in the arm this locker room needs right now because they're kind of been stupid.
I don't know about that, but I'll say this: what I do like about him, and really, like I said, when I heard he got released, I had to read it twice. I thought, come on, is this April already? April Fools? Why would they release him? He's got 2 touchdowns. He's got a number of catches. He's a number 2 receiver on Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you wonder, but the thing he doesn't get credit for, and Coach O'Shea has said this a number of times when he was with the roster, his blocking downfield is outstanding. Yeah. That's another aspect of being a receiver that's overlooked a lot of times, and I think that he's done a great job and makes another case. I hope he comes back. I know he's going to be a little disappointed. I'd like to hear what it is, but it's unfortunate, but it could be a real blessing for the Bombers.
Yeah. Coxie, Daniels, and Polk, as you mentioned, Chris, very talented receivers that they are high on. Devastation Daniels continues to creep up the all-time receiving yards list. He has got 5,742 career receiving yards. That leads the CFL amongst active players. Yep. But seeing Rasheed Bailey go, I would love to get the perspective of the quarterback, Zach Collaros, who knows this situation happened, was asked about it earlier today. So let's hear from the Blue Bombers quarterback. Touches on a variety of things. And big thanks to the Blue Bombers website for this. Here's Zach Collaros.
Rasheed Bailey, I'm just wondering, as the quarterback of this team, what he might be able to offer.
We just heard about that yesterday, and obviously
audio will get louder in a second.
So obviously we feel for Sheed, obviously a good friend and a great teammate. So all of us have been in that position before at some point in our career, so it's tough. With your question, haven't thought a ton about it. Just been getting ready here for this game. Against a great opponent, so that's where our focus is.
Obviously, you got lots on your plate here with this game getting back on track. What's going to take to get back in that win column this week?
Yeah, executing. I say that week in and week out, whether we win or lose. But I think a high level of focus and execution. Staying ahead of the chains, being efficient on first down, playing physical and playing clean. All those things that we preach each and every week. Making sure that we hone in on those little details and execute.
It's challenging to win in this league. We know it's especially challenging to win on the road in this league. You guys haven't been able to get that first victory away from Princess Auto. Has it been something about the road, or has it just been the way the games have gone?
Yeah, I think once the dust settles, usually no matter where you're playing, it's just a game. So again, but it is the entire week itself, right? Or the weekend rather. The 48 hours that you're on the road, and obviously you want to use it as a time to get to know each other as teammates, but you have to stay locked in and all those things. And I think we've done a good job of that. It just comes down to execution and scoring touchdowns, all those things that go into winning football games.
Zach, can you put your finger on what the struggles on second down have been for this offense this year?
Probably it would depend. Probably play to each and every play, obviously, whether it's like the 4-6 or the 7-10. But I think that's why it's so important to be better on first down. Whether it's getting first downs on first down or staying ahead of the chain. So it's something we've certainly looked at and addressed, continue to work at. and we feel good that it'll come around.
I think an opportunity to establish the run game against these guys. I know they're giving up some yards, and how important is it to establishing that for you to get the best out of your air attack?
Yeah, I think it's always something that's a focus for us. Obviously, we want to play physical. We want to be that type of an offense. So, getting those guys going early up front is always a priority.
What's it been like watching Janarian this year?
Oh, it's been awesome. Yeah, I mean, I feel like every time the Argos are on, you get a text and it's like, you see what Janarian just did? My dad especially is like, man, that kid. I'm like, yeah, he's tough. So, obviously happy for him and I guess for the Argos for what he brings to the table. He's just a unbelievable player, so strong, so fearless, so fast, all those things that make up a great returner. So really happy for him.
There's talk of him, I guess, kind of going off the grid in the offseason, that he's hard to reach. I don't know, as someone that's stuck to their phone all the time, I find that very enviable. I don't know, what do you think of that?
I think it's awesome. I love that about him. I don't know. I can't share a lot about him with you, but like you said, I'm envious of that for sure.
Quarterback Zach Collaros speaking in Toronto a little bit earlier today and touching on Rasheed Bailey. First thing that comes to his mind, Mike O'Shea mentioned it as well. We'll hear from him in a second. You feel for a guy when you're friends with him and close to him and gets released from a team. But we do know that the Blue Bombers, and a lot of those questions you heard Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press, of course. Jeff, good friend of the show and often on Bonfire Sports here with us. He reported in the Winnipeg Free Press today that the Bombers have reached out to Rasheed Bailey's agent. Makes you wonder about Lucky Whitehead, and this will be a third straight game that he is not on the roster for Winnipeg.
Yes. And I can tell you this, nothing against Lucky, but if Rasheed comes back, Rasheed will be quicker to come into the lineup than Lucky with his experience, his knowledge of the game plan and understanding and the connection that he has with Zach. And it's a tough question you ask Zach. Zach's got to think about Toronto right now, the defense he's going to go against, the game plan he's got to go against. And it's always tough when they ask you about, what do you think about Janarian Grant? What do you think about, the Rasheed? You can't really get into that. And I thought he answered it so well and politely with respect to both players. The fact is he's got his own thing to worry about right now. Mm-hmm. They got to turn their boat around. The Bombers are playing the boatmen, the Argos, but the Bomber boat is sinking. It's like the Titanic. We've got, well, maybe not as bad as the Titanic right now, but I think they've got to fix it, and they want to fix it quick. They don't want to start going, they're undefeated on the road or defeated on the road. They haven't won a game on the road, excuse me for that. The first time since 2019 I looked at. They'll turn it around. I really believe they'll turn it around. But Toronto is a tough place to play. I've been in there in the old CNE Stadium, but now they got a nice stadium. But still, it doesn't matter. You go there, Toronto, and anytime you got a little pinball Clemens, great Michael Clemens doing the GM duties, he's going to bring in some talented players, and they've got a lot of talented players.
No question. They have a glut of talented players, and so do the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Yes. But whether it is level of play, execution, age, I would love your take, Chris Walby, on the age conversation, because you walk the streets of Winnipeg and it's like, man, it's a tough year for the Bombers. Well, they're getting older. People say it. Every conversation I have, they bring up their age.
Listen, I don't even play anymore, and yet when I go around, people will stop me and ask me about it too, and they'll go, what's going on with this team? Is it an age factor? I don't believe it's an age factor because I love experience. I think the number one thing that's kind of smashed the Bombers in the mouth is the injuries. And again, it's not an excuse. It's just reality. That's the way it is. Everybody gets injured. Nobody's 100% healthy right now, but they've had to deal with some key injuries at key positions that we've mentioned already, with receivers, with defensive line. I still think the guy we miss more than anybody, and I loved him, was Jackson Jeffcoat. I know he's coaching now down in Texas or something right now, but still, he was such a great opposite end for Willie Jefferson. They both could wreak havoc. Obviously, Jackson, the son of a former NFL Dallas Cowboy, his dad won, I think, a Super Bowl and stuff. So, but I know, and it's tough to bring up guys from past, but to me, he was one of the key losses. You know, I don't know whether it was a mutual thing or if he wanted to get out of the game. A lot of guys want to get out of the game because the injuries take effect after when you're finished playing. I mean, I look at my fingers right now, and there's no way I can play guitar because I can't get my fingers straight. So I'm trying to play it, and they say, "Well, play piano." Well, then I'm hitting two fingers. I got this beautiful finger. Look at it. Look at those two. If I don't want to watch a show, I go like this. Oh, I got to still see it though. But I point to my two kids, and they come out. So that's good. That's about the only good thing.
Well, what? Yeah. When I first started with you at TSN Radio back in the day, and I'd sit next to you for hours as we did pregame, halftime, postgame coverage. It's crazy. By the way, Chris, happy anniversary to you. You've been working with me for 10 years. And to do that in itself, I think is an outstanding accomplishment that you put up with me for that long. But hat tip to you for that. But I remember sitting next to you and seeing those knuckles, and I'm just like, my God, this man has been to war.
Yeah, they're busted up a number of times, right? I mean, obviously, I still remember losing part of my finger in the, in the game against. I can't believe it was. It doesn't matter who was playing.
Yeah.
And I came off to the sideline, and my finger was wrapped in, and it took my whole half my finger off, and the white bone was sticking out, and every time my heartbeat would shoot blood out. And Cal Murphy goes, "I guess you're out, eh?" And I went, "You think?" So he says, "Well, go. We're gonna call ambulance for you. You gotta go to the hospital, get that fixed, right?" Because I'm just bleeding. And I'm just going to cut the story short. But, what he ended up doing is send me up front of the stadium. And he didn't call an ambulance. He called a taxi. So a taxi came, tried to pick me up. Said, "I'm not putting you in the car. I'm not putting you in a car like that. You're going to bleed all over my seats." So I had to sit on newspaper like a cat. And, it took me to the hospital. And they wanted to cut the finger out. He had sent Cal Murphy, and I loved the man, but he sent a message to the plastic surgeon, said, "Cut the finger off, nub it, and he'll get back quicker."
No way.
And finally, I stood up for myself and I said, "No, enough," because I mean, I blew
that finger's for life. Football is a picture in time.
That's exactly it. So they called the plastic surgeon, and the guy came out of the theater. I wish I could remember his name off my head, but he was a great guy. He brought his daughter, came there, and they found a little piece of cuticle, and actually, it's the straightest finger on my hand now. And it's shorter. I lost about a good half inch to an inch of my finger, but still, that's the thing about football. You're talking about injuries, and you talk about after football injuries, the beating your body takes. That's something. And then the people say to me, "Hey, Chris, would you ever trade it? Would you do it again?" I go, "In a heartbeat." And so you're talking about 10 years of you. It's weird. I don't even realize it's 10 years. It's just been fun. We've been doing it from TSN. We've done it to this.
Yeah.
And, we got to work with, Troy and all, Westy and the boys and all the great producers we had in TSN, Chris Brooks and what's the guy we just talked about yesterday when I was talking to you offline?
Who were we talking about?
Sit in his office all the time. We'd go in there.
Oh, Raccoon Kearney.
Raccoon Kearney. Yeah, there's another guy. Great guys, just great people.
Yeah.
So it was always fun to be involved with that. So yeah. Anyway, good for you too. I already told you yesterday. I'm not going to blow smoke up your rectum right now, but I'm going to tell you right now, you're on your way, buddy. I'm going to tell you right now. Pretty soon, Walby will be looking at the dust, and you'll be living in a mansion. Because you're going to I'm telling you, you're going places, buddy. You do a great job. I've talked to people, and again, here I am. I'm it's basically the guy saying to me, "What a great job that guy does." I mean, he's doing Sea Bears, he does hockey, he does football. You do everything, buddy. Unless I do football.
I'm gonna stop you there, Chris.
Okay.
Because I was raised to have humility, but I have fun. I have fun doing it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. Some people have to dig ditches or sit in a cubicle farm or enter data on a computer all day. I get to talk about football and hockey and basketball and feel the energy of the fans and interact with everybody in the live chat, which is awesome. And I get to work with someone great like you. So right back at you, brother. 10 years together and 4 years here on YouTube. This is our 4th season of GameDay Winnipeg on Bonfire Sports. So big thanks to everybody out there because we do it for you and we wouldn't be able to do it without you. I want to mention this. This is important. Speaking of mansions, as you mentioned, how about this mansion?
Holy mackerel. Who's that?
That is
Oh.
Scotswood Links in Elm Creek, Manitoba. Look at this clubhouse. Beautiful, expansive new clubhouse that have everything you need for your special events, your fundraisers, your weddings, whatever it might be. And then, of course, there's the golf course itself. Gorgeous course in southern Manitoba. It's just 30 minutes southwest of Winnipeg. You get there in no time. McGillivray in the perimeter, 25 minutes, boom, you're there. Amazing facilities, challenging course. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous golf course they have at Scotswood Links. And I'm going to see if I can do this. I have a little bit of drone footage of Scotswood as well. We can take a look here.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's such a great place. You got to check them out. Scotswoodlinks.com. That's Scotswood with one T. Scotswoodlinks.com/bonfire, and you'll get a nice discount on a foursome with power carts. But like, look at this course. Look at this. Amazing. You got to check them out. If you haven't golfed there, you got to get out there. It's close. It's a quick ride. I was talking to the team there at Scotswood Links yesterday. Course is in phenomenal shape. They are over the moon with how good conditions everything is in right now. Just an amazing course. You'll love it. You'll enjoy it. Get out there. I mean, one last look here. Look at this place. Look at this.
Yeah, that's beautiful,
absolutely man. Gorgeous golf course in southern Manitoba. You won't regret going. So big thanks to them for supporting us here on Bonfire Sports. So the fine that Adam Bighill received this week, Chris, had a lot of people shocked, frankly. Here it is. Adam Bighill, this from media release of the Canadian Football League. You're looking at what we get in the media. Winnipeg linebacker Adam Bighill fined for unnecessary roughness for driving Saskatchewan quarterback Shea Patterson into the ground. That, of course, was on the final play of Winnipeg's loss last week in Regina to the Rough Riders. And Shea Patterson said after the game he had no problem with it. Mike O'Shea, Adam Bighill, they all talked about it. Nobody had a problem with it. By letter of the law, yeah, it's a fine. But I don't know how you saw it, because I asked for people's response on social media and they're all over the place. Some think it's fine. Some think it should be suspension worthy. What say you, Chris?
What? Listen, I'll tell you right. First off, that's a crock of crap. Listen, first off, you play to the whistle. I got to play to the whistle. That's what you're taught. You know, you got a quarterback like, he goes back, Shea Patterson, and but what if he throws a bomb and it connects and they get a tie game? They're going to say, why did you hit the quarterback? You got to follow through. Yeah, he drove him to the ground. It wasn't helmet to helmet. It was a good tackle, good hard tackle. Stop protecting the quarterback to the point where, you're going to put a flag on their rear end.
Well, and he's running around there kind of, trying to kill time and get cute with it. Yeah.
And what if he throws a bomb and he makes connection?
Yeah.
Then we're tied. So come on, you got to do it. I thought it was a great job by Adam, and I loved Shea Patterson saying I respect him. He's a pro. He's a star. And you know what? Yeah. That's the way football should be played. He did monkey up and go, oh, I'm so, you hear McLeod Bethel Thompson, what she does that way. That's one thing we should talk about one time. These short weeks are jackass. I don't know who makes the schedule. Sorry about my jackass comment, but you can't have these short weeks. Like, they got so many. Mm-hmm. And, they're struggling on the field. They're struggling with injuries. Now they've got new coaches, new GM and G.R. Simon. I hope they get the turn, because that has been a model franchise for years. When they were the Eskimos, they were the pride of the CFL. And I used to go to their locker room.
City of Champions.
Wow. What a great locker. I remember going in there, and we were playing in the Grey Cup in 84 in Edmonton. And who walks in? And we're all like in awe. There's Wayne Gretzky walking around. And we're like, oh, there he is. There's
1984 Wayne Gretzky. Wow.
Yeah, we're looking at him going, man. I mean, he's not overly big, but he's just super talented, and he turned out to be one of the best that ever played. But
22 years old, 160 pounds, soaking wet, and scoring 200 points. That's incredible.
He's just, and I was just like looking at him going, whoa. Like I got to go to some of we used to go watch the practice when we were there, and you'd see all the guys like Mark Messier and all these guys that I grew up watching, right? Even though at the time I kind of liked the Chicago Blackhawks, some of the guys on there. I liked Bobby Hall, obviously. And if you've ever had a chance, I'll just throw this plug out for a guy. If you ever have a chance to hear Dennis Hall speak, go. He is one of the funniest cats you'll ever see. I had the luxury of doing a couple speaking engagements with him. And he's something special, man. I'm telling you right now.
Are you talking the Elks and Eskimos longtime play-by-play?
No, Dennis Hall.
Who's that?
Bobby's brother. Bobby Hall's brother. Dennis Hall.
Bobby Hall's brother.
Dennis Hall is phenomenal. Phenomenal.
Oh, I thought you were saying Brian Hall, who, of course, is a legendary broadcaster in Edmonton.
Oh, Brian Hall. Brian Hall was always giving me crap. He'd always give me crap about something.
Well, he bled green and gold, right? Like he bled.
Oh, man. And I was working CBC. He'd come up and give me a lecture. He'd just come up and give me a lecture on, what I should be saying, what I shouldn't be saying. And I would go, okay, Brian. I mean, they gave him rings. Like he's got championship rings from the Eskimos because, he's been there for that long. But I respected him because, the guy's been in the business, longer than I've been on this earth, I think. I think he came into broadcasting with Moses. They both came over and they, when
you
they
love
split
that
the
line.
red.
You love that line.
Anyway, yeah.
Well, we were just talking about the Rough Riders and want to draw attention to this. I don't know what you're up to Labor Day, Bluto, but I'm going to be on the bus. The 1930 crew. Okay, there's tons of information about them in the video description below here on YouTube and on Facebook. But you can email them at the1930crew@gmail.com. All of that again in the description. But we have got 2 buses going to Labor Day in Regina. It's all inclusive. Okay, drinks, swag, party favors. We got games. Wow. You see the prices on your screen there, $420 per person for quad occupancy, $450 per person for double occupancy, 2 nights hotel, game ticket, swag, events with the crew members, pregame tailgate. You're going to have a blast going to Regina, in Regina, and coming home from Regina, including VIP hosts. And look, it's up to you. You can either be on the Hus bus with the one and only Andrew Hustler Patterson, or you can be on the bomb bus, the bomber bus. That would be the bonfire bus with Darrin Bauming. Bomber,
cool,
got
man.
it? Okay, I'm just making sure.
And
it's going to be fun.
Another guy. Are you involved with Keto Publa?
Am I involved with Keto Publa?
I think he's got a bus going or something like that. He asked me a while back if I would be a guest on a bus, and I wasn't sure if he's connected to either one of your buses. But
I'm not sure. But I do know that our buses are going to have seats in Mosaic with all the other bus tours. So it's going to be all the Bomber fans together. It's going to be awesome.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds fantastic. I would encourage anybody to take it. I've done that a number of times. I've actually been on that bus or with the players where we end up watching the same stupid movie all the time. But it's fun. And you're going to have way more fun because when we're on the bus, we're just sitting there rocking around, listening to music. You're going to be having parties. You're going to have a couple Colies. You're going to have, DB's going to be on the bus. He'll tell you some stories. Maybe he'll put some home movies on. Here he is when he was a little rugrat. Oh, look at him. Ain't he a cutie little pot? Look at him.
Well, Ruby, maybe Ruby the bonfire dog. That's about it.
There you go.
And here's another teaser. Here's another teaser. If you want a bonfire hat, the long-awaited, highly anticipated bonfire hat, I just may have some ready for purchase on the bus. So if you want the first taste of the bonfire hat, you got to find them, the 1930 crew on Instagram. You can email them, the1930crew@gmail.com, but you'll find them on social media, the 1930 crew. Why 1930? Well, of course, that's the year the Winnipeg Blue Bombers were established. That's going to be so much fun. I really encourage you guys to check it out. Get on the bomb bus. Get on the Hus bus. Just get to Regina and help the Bombers in a rivalry game because you never know how those are going to shake out. The Argos this year, Chris, have been very up and down. They beat BC in week 1. They got gifted a win against the Edmonton Elks in week 2, 39-36. They squeaked past Edmonton. They then lost to Montreal by 10. They then lost to Saskatchewan by a touchdown. They then beat Montreal a couple weeks ago, but of course it was because Cody Fajardo got hurt. And then they lost to Hamilton last week, albeit at the Donut Box, Tim Hortons Field in the Hammer. This team is up, down, all around. You never really know what you're going to get other than Janarian Grant, who has been awesome for the Argos this year.
Oh, he's a freak. I mean, well, I'll tell you what, Cam Dukes is the guy that surprised me. One game, he looks just so ordinary. And the next game, he's taken off. He utilizes his leg, extends plays. He makes defenses pay. I mean, he's rushed the ball 36 times. He'll take off any time. I think that's going to be a really paramount that we keep him in the pocket. But then Nick Arbunkel comes in, and he's got a great relationship with the head coach in Toronto. And, he's not, they're playing the game that they're both going to play tomorrow. Nick, I thought, came in that backup role and generated a couple touchdowns. He looked really sharp throwing the football. So it'll be interesting to see what they do and what they attack. But you're almost positive Cam Dukes will start. But they're a team that surprises me. They got one of the best linebackers. He might be the best linebacker in the league right now, in Winton McManus. I don't know if there's a better linebacker right now. Now that's with respect to Adam Bighill, but Winton is a freak, man. He just all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Gets his hand on the football, right? Like he just forces takeaways.
I saw his video. He did a video where if you ever watch the game, he's always got a toothpick. When he comes off the sideline, he puts a toothpick in his mouth. It's really crazy. Yeah. But that's kind of his niche. So it's kind of cool to watch. But no, they've got Toronto's got a good old line. They're not bad. We haven't even talked about what they have. And that's the number one running back in the CFL.
Yeah. And, just ahead of Brady Oliveira, who's number 2, which adds to the preposterousness that this Blue Bombers offense is struggling so much. Not only do they have the second best running back in the league as far as numbers through the first third of the season, but they can't get anything going off of him. The pass game should open up when you're able to run the ball like they are with Brady.
But they only ran the ball 9 times with him. When you watch the game, 9 times for 50 something yards. What I got 9 for 50 yards, 49. He's still got a 5.4 yard average in that game. Yeah. Why do you stop feeding him the pigskin? Give him to him. That's what we just talked about. The game prior to the prior 2 games, it was bully ball, as you like to call it, where the O-line are just they're eating out there. They're eating the D lineman. They're just pushing them around. And you only run the ball 9 times. You can't live off. We said this before. You cannot live off being one-dimensional. And when they force the Bombers out of the run game and they quit, I don't care if Brady gets stuffed 5 times. 6 or 7 or 8, he's going to bust for 10, 10, 10, or 20, right? You got to stay with the game plan. So
speaking of those big runs, Kadeem Carey, 14 yards ahead of Brady Oliveira in rushing this season, 429 for Kadeem Carey. But Carey has 5.4 yards per attempt, and he's also number 1 in the CFL with 12 runs of 10 plus yards. 12 times he has exploded for a huge gain, and that really concerns me with Adam Bighill and Kyrie Wilson now, of course, added to the 6-game injured list. Bighill with where he's playing right now, a young player in Tony Jones being there, changes on the D-line with how Winnipeg has been against the run. If you have a player like Kadeem Carey, who a lot of people wrote off this offseason as he left the Calgary Stampeders in free agency, how much gas does he have left in the tank? Oh, he's a few years past 30, who knows? He's doing just fine and can explode for big runs. That could really hurt the Blue Bombers.
Well, you hit it on the head. The number 1 rushing team is Toronto, and the worst team against the run are the Bombers. So it's a great match, a great chess match to see how Jordan Younger, the defensive coordinator, battles Kadeem, as I call him, Kaboom Kadeem. Because when he goes, he takes off. I really like the kid. I think he's a great running back. They also got Danny Adeboye or Aboya. Adeboye. Adeboye, thank you. And then McMahon. So they got a couple good backup running backs too. They spread the ball around, but
Keeper Ness at TSN calls him Kadeem Cash and Carry. I like that.
Cash and Carry. That's not bad. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, I'll give TSN a little mark for that one. I like mine.
Before we get into your keys to the game and we hear from head coach Mike O'Shea, I want to mention our good friends at Pure Winnipeg. They are the city's premier proactive healthcare providers. You can find them at 1129 Empress Street. That is just north of Polo Park, right by the Rona, on Empress Street. And you can give them a call as well at 330 Pure. Do I got that right? Yes. Oh, sorry. 338 Pure. That's 204-338-7873. All the information you need is down in the video description below. Physiotherapy, occupational therapy, general medical as well. You can get your GP there. They have a brand new minor injury walk-in clinic, stitches, casting, whatever you need on site, in and out. You don't have to go to Pan Am or the emergency room and wait for hours. Pure has got you covered. Check them out, purewinnipeg.com. They get you feeling right.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, thank you for both those guys. I mean, for the golf course and for Pure. You also mentioned, so before we get to the keys, you also mentioned you had a little shot of Michael Shea.
Yes.
So we should probably hit that so the fans can see a little bit of Michael.
Yeah, okay. Well, here's the head coach from earlier today.
Beautiful.
See Janarian doing what Janarian does. Does that warm your heart, or does that concern you going into tomorrow night?
Yeah. Obviously, stopping him is difficult, and everybody that's been with us for a while recognizes that. They see him, they see what he did for us, and he's continuing on in that vein. I mean, I said it a couple times already. Keeps going like he is, he'll be up there on the top lists, in CFL history. So, yeah, he's exceptional. Tough to stop, obviously.
What other areas of the Argos are going to be a challenge to stop tomorrow?
I think we're more worried about ourselves, I don't know that
What are
we're...
the challenges that they have then facing the Winnipeg Blue Bombers?
I'm sure they're worried about themselves too. It really is about your own execution, It always has been. We've sort of stood in our own way a few times this year, and we'd like to get out of that.
It's a week-to-week process. But looking at the numbers, you haven't had that victory on the road yet. Can you put your finger on it, or is it just circumstance in each game?
Yeah, I don't know that you even separate them, Road trips they're clean now, It's not like it's an arduous process, right? You get in, you eat, you get to bed, you play, you get out, right? So I don't know that it's as big a deal as it used to be, whatever number of years ago.
You bond on the road and whatever. I just mean more like enemy territory, whether it's the crowd, whether it's just tough. I know it's tough to win every week. It just seems...
I don't think we ever differentiate between being on the road or being at home. It's tough to win.
Of course, you've got a lot to focus on this weekend, but be remiss if I didn't mention that, Rasheed Bailey was recently released. We all know how much work he's put in here, probably a need for a guy like that. Where's this organization at as far as that situation?
Well, we're pretty focused on this opponent, Certain things come to mind. First time you hear about a guy getting released that you've had a relationship with, you feel for him personally. Then you realize, we have our own work cut out for us. And then also the group of receivers that came in this year for camp are pretty damn good. So I don't know where it all fits yet.
Coach, I'm sorry if I missed it, but can you talk about Brady and the season he's been having compared to what he had last season for you guys, and how you see his
Yeah, I
pace?
think he's on his way. I think Brady's on his way. He missed a large part of training camp.
There's a fine. There's a fine.
Awesome. No, Brady's coming into his own again, right? So the last couple games he's been a beast. We had him out of the backfield catching the ball a little more, and he's certainly, with the ball in his hand, he is tough to bring down. And every week's going to look different, right? It's not always going to be the same. But yeah, he's really, the last couple weeks has been the physical Brady that the team needs.
You relied on Shane Gauthier before, but Kyrie Wilson being out on the 6th game seemed like a bit of a surprise. But was that an injury last week, of course? Or
Yeah. And then once again, I think the way we run it is, put him on the 6th game if you think it's going to be more than a week or so, just in case.
Mike, what is it about this? Like, talking to the players this week, everybody still seems to be confident that they'll get it going. There's a lot of faith still in the room. What do you see from your group that leads you to think that way too?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the attitude they show up with every day. I mean, it's, you're as a head coach, you're always trying to observe any little changes and things that may signal something different is going on, but they show up every day. The same attitude, willing to work. They put in a ton of time. They enjoy doing it together. So, I mean, there's no reason not to believe it.
There's head coach Mike O'Shea speaking today, walkthrough day in Toronto ahead of Bombers Argos on Saturday night. Jeff Hamilton of the Winnipeg Free Press, as Mike O'Shea touched on there, broke the story last night that Rasheed Bailey was released from the Toronto Argonauts. Ryan Dinwiddie talked today, and this via Jeff Hamilton. Of course, read his work, winnipegfreepress.com. Dinwiddie stated, I quote, "I wouldn't be surprised if Winnipeg brings him back, and whoever gets the man is going to get a good man, a good person, good player. This is the unfortunate decision we had to make." Cameron Dukes, the Argos quarterback, said that everybody clinged to Rasheed Bailey and that he was upset that Bailey was gone. And the Free Press, Jeff Hamilton, namely, has said that sources tell them, the Free Press, the Bombers have been in contact with Rasheed Bailey's agent. So interesting that maybe we'll get, the old gang back together and bring Rasheed Bailey in, and Lucky Whitehead too.
I thought it was interesting, and I know it's so tough. First, we saw Zach earlier in the show. Now you hear, Coach O'Shea, and they're asking him questions that he knows he could probably tell you more. But if he says something about a receiver they go after, what does that say about the receivers he has? Mm-hmm. So he's doing it right. He's very diplomatic. We like what we have. But obviously, you get a guy with experience. But they've got their mind set now on just the Argonauts, not on the fact there's a guy available, and they might come, might not come. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't come. I was also very intrigued by the lovely singing voice of the Irishman, Mike O'Shea, singing a little bit of song there. Beautiful. Loved it.
Who are you? Hoo-hoo.
Yeah.
Somebody's phone going off. Moment of levity there was pretty funny.
That was really good. I love the fact that he does that. That just shows his human side, right? He's just such a good guy.
Hey, Chris, quickly, before we get to your keys to the game, did you notice, what did you take away from the demeanor, the tone of the Blue Bombers head coach? Because I noticed it being quite different than we've come to know of Mike O'Shea.
Well, I think when you're 2-5, you get the same questions, like what's wrong, what's going on, what's with this player, how's Brady? I mean, we must have heard the story about Brady almost every show, or every week we do this show. They ask about Brady. I mean, the thing that I'll say about this, to your point, I think he's exhausted with the questions. It's like when you go on the road, you just want to get to the game. You just want to play the game. And, you got to feel for a head coach. He's got to do an interview every day.
Was he exhausted with the questions or exhausted with the answers, which are, it's tough right now?
If he had the answer, we'd fix it, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I'll tell you one thing that they can't do. Brady Oliveira cannot be your leading receiver in a game. That's not going to work. And he was 9 catches last week, and they were just little dump offs. And hey, look, I'll tell you what, that kid is tough as nails. And watching it on TV, the hits and the contact was like he was in my living room. I mean, you could just hear the shoulder pads and the helmets. It was crazy. And I said, you know what? Wow, he's running hard. He is a stud, but he cannot be your leading receiver. They need someone to step up. It's got to be
Zach Collaros. It's got to be Zach Collaros. He's got to step up.
Yeah, he's got to step up. I agree with that too. I mean, I think he knows it too. I think they're all getting tired of that. Nobody wants to hear about, hey, what's wrong with you, man? I mean, when you go on a losing streak, people are just talking to you, and you run them into stores, and you got ladies hitting you with their shopping carts. They're just smacking you around.
With their purse.
Talking crap. Grandma who never watched, she's now the biggest fan, and she's like, start throwing the ball deep, you jackass. I mean, it's just crazy, man.
Hey,
Anyway.
Chris, let's get your keys to the game and what's going to be critical for the Bombers to get back on track and try to win their third game in their last 4 and inch towards the Calgary Stampeders, who are 500 and sit in third place in the West Division.
Well, I think it's pretty simple. I mean, offensively, they got to stay on the football field. This is a team we mentioned earlier in the show that used to, control the time of possession, being a 1-2 top in the league. Right now, they're number 9. They're not on the field enough. They got to get first down production. It sounds simple, but you can't be in second and long all the time. And I think you got to stick with the game plan. That means don't abandon the run. And you cannot have your running back be the leading receiver. That's just little key points that I pop out. On defense, listen, Cam Dukes can beat you with his legs. Force him to throw the ball. He'll make some mistakes. He's a young quarterback. I like Nick Arbunkel too, but he's not the runner that a Cam Dukes is. And I think we'll go with your term because I know you like the TSN boys. You got to stop, Kadeem Cash and Carey, which I guess I give him credit. That's pretty good. Who leads the league in rushing, right? And there's nothing to be said about special teams except for this. The best I ever saw was Henry Gizmo Williams. A guy that's climbing that rank up, as O'Shea said, is Janarian, the Giant Killer Grant. He is just 3 touchdowns already. He's got 2 on punt returns, 1 on kickoff return. He's the main guy. He's the X factor in this game. And in playing at home in Toronto, you better hope that Mike Miller's got his cover team really fired up to stay in the lanes.
Janarian Grant comes into this game with a 3-game kick return touchdown streak.
Crazy,
He's one of only 3 players to ever do it in 3 straight games. The 2 other are Henry Gizmo Williams in 1990 and Chris Williams in 2012. No player has ever had a return in 4 straight games.
Yeah, but I still think, you can't beat the Giz.
Yeah.
First off, Giz is one of the funniest guys you'll ever meet. If you want to talk to Giz, he's so hyped up and he's so fast. He just, you think you got the angle on him and then you're just looking at cleats. Yeah. He's just that good. And he's solid. If you ever see, like they're 2 different generic build, but really fast. Giz is a beast.
Yeah.
Thick and built like a brick, house.
Yeah. Like a bowling ball.
And just fast too. And when he gets going, boy, you ain't doing nothing, man. You're just chasing shadows. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great game, DB. I'm looking forward to the game. I'll be watching it from the lake. We stayed in the city today just so I could do the show with you. And I got my grandkids got a little pool party going where I'll head after this. But now I like to do the show from my house rather than the lake, even though I'm going to do it once from the boat this year. Okay. And it might have to happen next week.
Let's do it.
Because next week is Saturday game. BC. Yeah.
Where's my
schedule? I believe it's here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure BC's playing here. They play here.
Thursday, August 1st. Thursday, August 1st. And then Sunday, August 18th, following the bye.
Okay, that might be the one I'll do from the boat then.
Okay.
But yeah, Thursday, well, that's good. So we got a Wednesday show.
Yes, sir.
Beauty.
We'll be right back here. Game Day Winnipeg, as we always do, the day before the game, live on Bonfire Sports. Find links to everything, bonfiresports.ca. After the game, as we always do, Game Day After Dark. With myself, Zach Schnitzer, and video highlights of the game. You don't want to miss that. Bonfiresports.ca for everything. Big thanks to purewinnipeg.com, scotswoodlinks.com. Hit up the 1930 crew on Instagram and Twitter. Email them, the1930crew@gmail.com, and hop on the Bonfire bus. Hop on the Huss bus and join us in Regina for Labor Day with a ton of awesome Blue Bomber fans. And big thanks to you, Chris Walby, not just for your keys to the game, but for, just being you. You're a beauty, buddy.
Well, I appreciate it, man. And you mentioned something, and your buddy Zach Schnitzer. And I know he's going through some things with his family, and I'm sending prayers to his mom. I believe it's his mom. So just sending my prayers out to her and hope she gets better. But I'd be remiss if I didn't say that. So
kind of you.
Stay positive, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate everybody out there. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you after the game here on Bonfire Sports.